Hey, I'm Kai, and in this video I'm going to be checking out the StompStation by Sonulab. This is a full modelling pedal suitable for both guitar and bass, and despite its small form factor, it actually has a lot going on. The headline feature is that it's able to load NAMM captures, amps, cabs, full rigs, and even drive pedals. Now I should mention this is a sponsored video, as Sonulab have offered me a partial discount on this pedal in exchange for this review. That said, I reached out to them because I was particularly excited in checking out the unit. Before anything else, I want to quickly show off the first stock preset, Blue Devil, so you can get an idea of what this unit sounds like when you first boot it up. For this demo, I'm using my Balaguer semi-custom Woodman. For this video, I'm going to be working in Void X, which is the desktop editor available for this unit. You can do everything you need to on the device itself, however it's a little bit more clunky and the desktop editor has everything open. I can show you a lot better if I'm using the desktop editor. One cool thing worth mentioning is that this desktop editor works completely wirelessly. That even includes file transfer things like uploading NAMM captures or impulse responses to the device, or even downloading your presets. As for the actual features of this unit, I'd say that NAMM is the highlight, and then you have a few effects for the sake of it either side of it. It has a compressor, gate, EQ, modulation, delay and reverb, and also obviously the NAMM and impulse response blocks. We'll get into the blocks in a little bit more detail when I start building my own preset later on, but the modulation block, the delay block, and the reverb block all have multiple different options available within them. I'll start by checking out some of these stock presets, as I find that this is a really good litmus test for pretty much any modeler. So obviously you already heard the Blue Devil preset in the intro, but if we open up the preset list, you'll see that there are 20 slots available. Let's check out the Dad Rock preset first. That's just a really good sounding classic crunch sound that would work for pretty much anything you could need a crunch for. If we open up the preset list again, we'll try and find something that's a little bit cleaner, so we'll go for the Brick Clean. That's more of a studio 80s clean with a nice bit of ambient effects on it, so let's see if we can find something a little bit more staple. We'll check out this Italian single boy preset, then we'll move over to some high gain stuff, and then I'll get into building my own tones. One thing I'm immediately noticing with these stock presets is that this reverb sounds incredible. Let's head over to the reverb block, and we'll swap this one out for the Galaxy Verb instead. This is sort of the big ambient reverb. That is a super lush reverb. I'm really enjoying how that sounds actually. Of course, with a low-tuned, Evertune equipped, high-output humbucker guitar, I should probably check out some of these high-gain presets. One that I found myself particularly enjoying was the Rectifier preset. That is just a really nice sounding, responsive, high gain tone. I'm a huge fan of these stock presets. That said, this preset is a touch noisy, so I will kick on the noise gate that we have available here. Now, it's worth mentioning that the way this unit loads NAMM captures is by converting it to its own VX amp format instead. Converting NAMM captures down to be lighter weight is something that pretty much all of the budget NAMM loaders do. However, in some budget modelers, this conversion process can absolutely ruin the quality of the capture. That is not the case for the StompStation. The VX amp conversion is very high quality and it feels super responsive. I'll now build out a preset of my own using captures from the new Sonulab Essentials capture pack. One thing I should mention is that there are no user slots on this unit, so whatever you add to it will be overwriting something in the factory settings. You can do a factory reset at any point, which will bring back all of the original NAMM captures and the original presets. Loading up NAMM captures is super simple. You just open up the amp block, you select the list of the model, and then you can hit the import icon next to any of the amps. For this, I'm going to load up the full capture of the Freeman HBE. Then all we need to do is open up the model tab and then select the model that we'd imported. Since this one is a full capture, we will also need to disable the impulse response. I'm going to turn off the reverb and the gate for now so we can hear just what the capture is doing. Obviously, the first thing I want to do here is add the noise gate, so let's do that one and just dial it in a little bit. So we're going to want a fast attack, we're going to want a pretty fast release, and we'll bring the threshold down a little bit. I'll now tack on some effects, and in the modulation section I will pull up the phaser. I don't want anything too cheesy sounding here, so we're going to dial it in pretty subtle. So that gives us just a little bit of extra movement going on. Now we're going to add in some delay and reverb, and I want some big ambience going on. So let's open up this reverb section. I'm going to go for the hall reverb this time, and I'm going to dial up the mix fairly high, the decay fairly long. Now, we don't have different delay models to choose from, however you can sort of build your own delay using the features you have available. So the main screen you'll see is the time, repeats and the mix. This is pretty standard for any delay, but underneath it you'll see that we have things like the analog character or the tape character. If we increase this analog character, you'll notice that it gets super filtered. We do want a little bit of that in so that it gets nice and soft. The tape character is more of an aging and that tape degradation kind of thing. The last thing I want to do is add in the stereo bouncing and the stereo spread, so that's got a lot more width to it. We'll flick over to the neck pickup and we'll tweak the EQ a little bit, and then that should be it done for this preset. Now that we've got this all dialed in, let's have a quick playthrough clip. As far as building a preset goes, I would say that there are just the right amount of parameters on each block to get what you need to get done. It feels like it's super easy to tweak everything, but also powerful enough that I can do whatever I want to with it. Besides one thing. It is a fixed effects chain, so you can't reorder the effects. You can't have a drive pedal before your amp if you want it to be extra crunchy, and you can't have the EQ block before your amp if you want to sculpt the DI sound of your guitar, for instance. The other thing is there is no drive block, so you don't have any sort of overdrive running into the amplifier. Instead, you would have to run a NAMM capture of a drive running into the amp already. Even if they don't add a dedicated second NAMM slot for this, it would be nice to have just a built-in boost. Now, I'm actually going to build out a second preset, as that first one didn't take too long at all. For this, we're going to focus on loading impulse responses, so we'll load up one of the amp-only captures from the ML Essentials capture pack. I'm going to go for the Mega Rec lead for this one. With that loaded up, we can now load in our impulse response from the IR tab. So let's engage this one, open up the list, and then we'll replace one of the stock impulse responses with our own. For the IR, I'm going to go for the matching mega oversized cabinet. You'll notice that I'm transferring all of these files wirelessly, and it just works super smooth and super fast. With that, I'm going to disable all of the effects that we'd added onto this preset. I'm going to load up the ML Mega Oversize in the impulse response section, and I'm going to load up the Mega Rec lead in the amp section. I'll also leave on this noise gate. Again, I found myself really enjoying how these captures sound even though they've been converted to the VX amp format. Now, since there is only one NAMM slot and we can't load in a drive pedal, I have actually got a drive pedal set up on my desk that we can run into the front end of this pedal. I've selected the Black Russian Rat by the Zero Fret, which I do have a full demo of on my channel if you are interested. This is a blend of a Big Muff and a Rat, and it sounds absolutely phenomenal. For this one, I'm going to load in the Freeman BE Plexi full rig model, as I found that this takes a fuzz really nicely. We're going to hear this capture raw first, and then I'll kick on the fuzz pedal pretty quick. One of the quirkiest things about this unit that I want to mention is that Sonulab are calling this a multi-app pedal. Now, it currently only has one compatible app, which is the default StompStation app. There could be a day in the future where you uninstall the basic firmware of the StompStation and instead load something up like a convolution reverb, for instance, or even a NAMM capturing set. I'd say it's worth being tentatively excited about this one. If they hold up to their goals and their plans, this could be a seriously unique unit in the future. Speaking of the future of this pedal as well, they currently have a desktop application in beta called Magic Match. You drop an isolated guitar track into the app and then play a little bit of DI guitar and it will spit out a VX amp profile matching the tone. I won't check that app out in this video as it's quite an involved process, but let me know if that's something you would like to see and I can do it in a future video. Now let's start the review section with the pros of this pedal. The biggest positives about it really come down to the form factor. This is an incredibly small pedal and you're able to power it with most standard 9V pedal power supplies. You can also hook it up to your phone via USB-C cable, which will both power the device and also let you use it as an audio interface. I can see this being pretty huge for quick clips, whether you're traveling or out at a guitar show or something like that, as all you really need is a USB-C cable from this pedal to your phone, a jack cable from the pedal to your guitar, and then maybe a set of headphones or something to monitor it. The form factor also means that it would be great on a pedal board, especially as you can control everything on the unit itself if you need to. Onto some non-form factor related pros though. I think one of the main things I like about this unit is that it's so low latency that it just feels amazing to play through. It just feels super fast, super responsive, and super snappy. I am pretty excited about what the future of this pedal could look like. I really hope they're given the opportunity to flesh out this pedal in the ways that they're hoping. Now, before I wrap things up into a conclusion, I do want to get into some of the cons of this unit. I'm afraid to say that some of the user experience stuff does feel a little bit cheap. Lots of it feels very utilitarian, from the basic standard text display on the screen itself over to the app, which has got basic bubbles and doesn't look very unique. I'd say that generally a lot of it doesn't feel fun and exciting like you can get with a lot of other modelers, especially so when you're editing on the unit itself. Maybe it's not particularly fair to call this a con, but it does feel like kind of a nerdy unit. The average guitarist probably isn't going to pick one of these up, at least in its current state. One thing I would like to see is the ability to sacrifice the stereo function in this pedal in exchange for an effects loop. This would let you place an external pedal between the amp and the reverb in the unit. My biggest complaint and the con with this unit that I've mentioned already is that it doesn't have any drive models. It does feel kind of limiting, especially when you load in something like a rectifier, for instance. Amps that really benefit from a drive pedal. The only option you have for boosting the front end of the amp is by raising the input gain. Obviously, it would be nice to see all of the blocks expanded. So for gates, I'd want to see sidechain gates. For the delays, I want multi-head delays, and it'd also be nice to have some pitch effects. I understand that that is a very tall order for a pedal that's basically being pushed to its limit just loading NAM captures. Overall though, this is a really interesting pedal and I'm glad to be a part of putting it onto people's radars. The NAM loading feels great, everything just feels super high quality, and the effects cover the essentials nicely. It also plays great with other pedals, so anything not covered by the pedal itself can be covered elsewhere. For a small team, this is a very impressive product. There are obviously going to be some quirks about it and some things that could be improved upon, but that is the case for every modeler regardless of price point. I think this one is a very solid purchase. If you were even considering this unit, then it's probably going to be a good fit for you. Thank you for watching this video and I'm glad you stuck around to the end for this one. I will leave a link to Sonulab's website in the description box down below. There's also a link to my Discord server down in the description, so if you wanted to come join and hang out and chat about all things guitars, bass, amps, pedals, and other general things, feel free. That is all I've got for this video though, so until next time, I've been Kai.